It's time for the Writer's Block, our weekly look at all things sports. I'm Jenni Carlson here in the studios at the Oklahoman, joined by Cedric Golden in the, well, not the studios of the Austin American-Statesman, but somewhere in Central Texas, right?
I'm at the house today, Jen. I hope that's okay.
Fine by me, as long as we got you here. That's all that matters. Well, we're talking about the two big sports stories of the week, and there's really only two, and they're gigantic. So we're just going to focus on those this week, folks. And first, starting out, the death of Kobe Bryant. My friend, this was obviously a huge shock to all of us. Only 41, one of 9 passengers in a helicopter that went down last weekend on Sunday afternoon out in the LA area. Cedric, I mean, we've had a few days to start to digest this. What stands out to you about what you've thought about, what you've felt in sort of these days afterwards? What's really stood out to you about this?
First of all, I was more emotionally affected than I thought I'd be. And I think part of it is the kids on the helicopter. So it kind of messed me up. So the second part, Jen, would be the effect it had on these kids in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You look at Trae Young and Kyrie Irving and guys like that, they were heartbroken. And so it occurred to me that when I was growing up, Dr. J was the guy.
Yeah.
And then Magic and Larry came along. And then Michael Jordan came along. And then Shaq and Kobe. This guy was their Michael Jordan.
Absolutely.
He was their Shaq. He was their Dr. J. And so to me, to see them heartbroken, and then all the tributes, the changing of the jersey numbers, Kyrie Irving going home, he couldn't play. It resonated with me. He was much bigger than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting that we've talked about it's sort of 2 generations of NBA players. You've got, guys like LeBron, Chris Paul here in Oklahoma City, some guys that have been in the league, quite a while, and their careers overlapped with Kobe. It's not to say that these younger guys didn't, but you've got guys that, played maybe a decade or more in the NBA with Kobe, and, they came into their greatness, their all-star years, their, becoming league leaders, whether that was in the NBA Players Association or whatever. They came into those roles at a time when Kobe was still in the league. So he's more friend, contemporary, that sort of thing. So, you saw Chris Paul, he sat out Monday night's game. We saw obviously the Lakers with LeBron and those guys cancel a Tuesday game. I think we've seen it affect that older generation of NBA players as losing a friend, a guy that they knew well. And then, like you mentioned, Cedric, it's been the younger guys that saw Kobe as their Jordan, as their ideal. Maybe they knew him, maybe they didn't, but he was more of, I want to be Kobe. So I think it's led to, we had a game here in Oklahoma City on Monday night, and it was really kind of a cloud over the whole thing, as you might suspect. Just really had a tribute before the game, but then it really kind of hung over everything, just in terms of players not seeming themselves, just the energy not there. And I think it's going to be interesting to see in the coming days as, public memorials and those sorts of things. We start to see, the Lakers come back on Friday night. What is that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? I think it's going to be hard in the league for a little while. I don't know what to expect when you start to see some of these more veteran guys get back on the court.
Jen, the one reality that's hanging over us all, he's not coming back. He's dead. And that is so final and so sudden and so unexpected. And he's the greatest living retired guy that's not named Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. You want to put Kareem in there, I'm fine with that. But those are the 3. And so when you look at the total embodiment of Kobe's career, his fuse with Shaq, who was devastated, by the way. If you saw him on Inside NBA, it was hard to watch. His relationship with his contemporaries, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, LeBron, D-Wade, those guys. I've seen those guys up close and personal. I'm going to share a story with you, Jen. I covered the All-Star game in 2010 at Jerry World and wandered into a locker room where I wasn't supposed to be in there. And I stood 5 feet from Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade, Kevin Garnett, and Chris Bosh. And I will listen to them speak as men. They didn't know I was media. They thought I was a coach or an agent. I was in a suit. My media credential was partially obstructed. I got to see them on a personal level, and I shared it with my readers on statesman.com. And these guys loved Kobe. They revered him. And it didn't occur to me to write this in until he died. And I saw clips of him on the Olympic team. And he played in the Olympic team with D-Wade, with LeBron, and guys like that. And that's when it occurred to me that this was bigger than competition. This was camaraderie, and this was love, and this was respect.
Yeah, and I think it really, you know, when you look at the number of tributes and different things that players are doing, whether guys that have been wearing 8 or 24 and, you know, talking about changing numbers. Teams, the Mavericks have said they're retiring the number. Never mind the fact Kobe never played a game, obviously, for the Mavericks. A lifelong Laker was Kobe Bryant. So a lot going on around the league to honor his impact on basketball. You know, I think we could talk for hours probably about him overall. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. You know, a complex figure in many ways, and I think that there's a lot of different things that you can talk about. But when it comes to basketball, this guy was one of the top competitors, one of the top players basketball's ever seen, and I think his impact on basketball, definitely we're seeing just how far and wide that has reached. And, you know, it's unfortunate. It was tragedy that we found this out. I think we knew it to some degree, but it's really presented itself in these days since Kobe Bryant's death Sunday. We're not quite a week past that tragedy, but it will continue. The ripples will continue as these weeks go on. As this weekend approaches, though, Cedric, we start to turn our attention to the other side of the U.S., to Miami, where the Super Bowl 54, will be on Sunday between the Chiefs and the Niners. And we talked a bit about this last week. We didn't make any picks, but to this point, not a ton has happened that has really, you know, made me feel more or less certain about this. I think it's going to be a great game. What's your suspicion about how this one plays out on Sunday down in Miami?
I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I'm right. I think it's going to be a classic.
Yeah,
I do. After that 13-3 debacle last year with the Patriots and the Rams, we are ready for a good Super Bowl. And after all the Kobe tragedy, America needs a good Super Bowl. We need something that we can come together on and enjoy as a country and love on each other. And I think that these two teams are well matched. I think that we have the classic offense against a great defense, a great quarterback against a not so great quarterback, and I think a good running game in San Francisco against a not good running game in Kansas City. It all has the making of a fourth quarter game. I'm taking the Chiefs 34-31.
Ooh. I would say if we have that score right now, sign me up for that, because that says it's not only competitive, but we got some points. Yeah, if you love defense, if you're Buddy Ryan, you loved last year's Super Bowl, but everybody else would probably prefer scores slightly, if not a lot more high than what it was a year ago. But I will say this, I think I think we have a pretty good idea of what we're going to get out of the Chiefs offense. You know, Pat Mahomes, that receiving core. I think we have a pretty good sense of what we're going to get out of, the San Francisco defense, especially guys like Joey Bosa, just what they bring defensively. So to me, Cedric, you might be looking at guys like Damian Williams, the running back for the Chiefs, who's an OU guy, believe it or not. You might be looking at a guy like that. Or, you know, I know Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback for the Niners, but guys that aren't necessarily expected to make a huge impact, to me, it could be a guy like that we're saying at the end of the day, oh, that's the Super Bowl MVP. That's the guy that made the difference. Maybe I'm wrong, Cedric, but I think that there's going to be, maybe it happens more often than we think, but I think there's going to be something of an unsung hero. And, you know, because I think we're going to get really good play out of the superstars on these teams. I'm just not sure who that unsung hero is. But I could also see, I could see Mahomes with big numbers. I could see Bosa with a great game. I mean, the superstars, they're going to be good too.
The superstar is going to show up, but there's always a guy that we've never suspected would be great, and he's going to show up. Timmy Smith against the Broncos, he was a Redskins running back, ran for over 200 yards. Jack Squarick, a little used Raiders linebacker with a pick six in the Super Bowl. Those things happen.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at Jurczyk, the 49ers fullback, he could show up big. How about Sammy Watkins?
Yeah.
A first-round pick, but who's the fourth option as a receiver on that team. He could show up big. Or it could be a defensive MVP. How about Richard Sherman?
Yeah.
The oft-criticized Richard Sherman, who, by the way, got drug tested again today. He put it on Twitter. That's twice in 3 weeks. They call it a random drug test. So I think there will be an unsung hero, but when it comes time to hand out the MVP hardware, it's going to be a big name, probably Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I would say that's probably right. And by the way, I'm going Chiefs in this one as well. I'm going Kansas City. I'm going to go a little lower scoring. I'm going to go like 31-24 Chiefs.
I like it.
But I do think we're talking about a game sort of in the range that we've both said, Cedric. So I think we're in for a great game. Now the big question becomes, we got to talk about the commercials, the snacks real quick. What's your go-to on Super Bowl Sunday, Cedric? Do you have to have the sweet, the salty, the liquid libations? What's the must-have for you on Super Bowl Sunday?
Yes, yes, and yes. You cover the gamut. I gotta have some chicken wings, and I'm having those. I've got to have some cheese dip, some queso, chips and dip, and a couple of adult beverages. Wouldn't help, wouldn't hurt. But I will say this. For those of you going to Super Bowl parties and you plan on getting it in, drinking heavily, spend the night.
Yeah. Wake
up the next morning and take a change of clothes. Wake up the next morning, grab a shower, go to work. Since they won't listen to me and make Monday a national holiday, spend the night, don't take a chance. Let's keep those highways safe.
It's a great message. I totally agree. I'm going to say for me, yes to some adult beverages. I can't say no to that. But I will say that I trend more towards the crunchy for Super Bowl. The chips, the dips, all that sort of thing. Now, Cedric, on a normal day, give me a chocolate chip cookie and then keep them coming because I love me some chocolate. But when we're talking about the Super Bowl, I want the crunchies. So that's what I'm all about. And I got to tell you, I got to step away from the snack table because I'll just stand there, watch the game, eat the snacks, eat more snacks, watch the game. So love Super Bowl Sunday. I'll be watching. I know you'll be watching, Cedric. Let's see how our picks come out. Remember, I'm sure our listeners, viewers will remember. So we'll have to fess up next week to how we did. I know we'll all be watching to see how it turns out. All right, folks, that's it for the Writer's Block this week. Be sure to come back and join us again next time.